Lobo. Lobo is one of the coolest fragging anti-heroes DC has, full of toxic masculinity, violence, and destruction. But still has a soft spot in his heart for space dolphins. Lobo brags about being the only Zarnian species left, and that is due to him blowing up his entire home planet for a science project. He gave himself an A+. He's been banned from heaven and kicked out of hell, being permanently banished from the afterlife. Oh, and he also fought Santa Claus and beat him to shreds. Now if you can't tell, the comics are more on the humorous side of things, way over the top, ridiculous stuff. Sometimes leans a bit more into dark humor, but most of the time his stories are played for laughs. If you love Marvel's Deadpool, I really think you should search for some old school 90s Lobo comics. You will have a lot of fun with them. Lobo has been used sparingly over the years, appearing in animated shows such as Superman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited, Young Justice, as well as appearing in the more recent Superman animated film titled Man of Tomorrow. He also appeared in the DC Comics video game Injustice, as well as making his first live-action debut in the show Krypton, so his name may be a little familiar to you. They've taken liberties with Lobo in the comics in more recent years, but none of it really stuck, and thankfully. Lobo has yet to get his own solo film, be it live action or animated. Why hasn't DC attempted to make a Lobo film yet? With the success of Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, I figured it was only a matter of time before we got a live action film of Lobo. There were talks about a possible Lobo film as early as 2009, with Guy Ritchie to direct. That sounds like a pretty interesting fit, but it never got off the ground. A couple of years later, Brad Payton was to take over directing and writing duties, with talk of none other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to star in the film. The Rock decided against it and wanted to play Black Adam in the Captain Marvel, or also known as Shazam film. Then rumors swirled of Michael Bay in talks to direct a Lobo film. Obviously it never happened. Wonder Woman scriptwriter Jason Fuchs impressed WB so much with his Wonder Woman script he was asked to write one for Lobo, which manifested nothing once again. DC has been struggling over the years to get the cinematic universe they want. But I've always thought DC has done their best when they're trying not to connect all the dots and just make characters have their own separate stories. That said, however, it would be a lot of fun seeing Lobo go up against Henry Cavill's Superman or even The Rock's Black Adam. That fight could be something really cool to see, let's be real here. With James Gunn taking over as CEO over DC Studios, maybe it's possible we get an iteration of Lobo down the pipeline. Lobo is the type of character I would think James Gunn is familiar with and is a fan of, just because of his past comic book movies such as Guardians of the Galaxy, The Suicide Squad, and most recently the HBO Max series Peacemaker. Honestly, he would be a perfect fit to write or even direct a Lobo film. I would kinda dig it if the film was mostly set in space, dealing with different types of alien species, going on random bounty hunter missions. Honestly, it might even work as an HBO Max series too. The budget would probably be pretty huge. Maybe a possible story idea here is the Green Lanterns hear about the mayhem Lobo is causing, and they have to step in and try and stop him from blowing up another planet or something. Or maybe he unknowingly causes much destruction to the planet Mogo, who is also a Green Lantern. That could be a fun setup to a story. I think maybe Snyder-esque visuals and action would work greatly for a character like Lobo, but with writing similar to James Gunn. I think that would be a combination to a successful Lobo film. Who could play Lobo? Honestly, I'm not even sure. I always liked the idea of Jason Momoa, but he is Aquaman now, so that seems not possible. But someone similar to that, you know? I kinda like the idea of WWE superstar Roman Reigns, honestly. Just taking a jab at that character. I think he might could do it. I'm sure there are plenty of other talented actors out there that could do the role justice though. Some may feel Lobo is a product of the late 80s and 90s because of the ridiculous over-the-top action, all the muscles, blood, and violence, and you know what? They're right. Some may feel he is outdated and doesn't belong in the current era of comics and movies. I think they're fragging wrong and need to pull the stick out of their bum and learn to have some fun. DC may be a little gun-shy on making a Lobo film for these very reasons, but I think there's a huge audience waiting for this character if done right. If done right, it really could be a huge financial success. maybe even more so than Deadpool. But will DC ever attempt to make the film? Not sure, but I hope to see him on the big screen or the little screen one day.